Gonna be real, I forgot we had that.
Hey, it's another video about the amazing digital circus, and this time it's going to be focused on the show itself. I don't know, I may make allusions to Gav again, since the last few episodes were... But I think I should stick with the actual main episode, The Amazing Digital Circus. I could easily think of a way to make the combination work, but that's not the point of this video. No, it's to focus on the character of Gangle, a character who until now didn't get a lot of focus in the show. Understandable, since the show does have a bit of a trend of focusing on other characters. First being Pomni, of course, and then there was Kinger. And Zubul.
I'm not just gonna be forced into this stupid adventure.
You can shut up now!
And even then, this episode showed Kinger being the king riding a bull. I can also see that more of the episodes will be character dives, where we learn more about the characters with some hints already peppered in with previous episodes. Like, there was a fair bit more of Ragatha in this episode that we haven't seen before.
I miss my horses. I'm hurt enough. Packages landing on my head, tea parties, dancing lessons.
So I'm sure we'll get more highlight elements about her character in the future, but for now, let's focus on Gangle. If you're not familiar with the episode, which I highly doubt, the premise for this adventure is the group is working at a fast food joint.
Who wrote that?
Which is, I mean, it's not like you can't have fun with this sort of setting for jokes.
Is it like you mean it, bro?
Though I will say it is a missed opportunity. What, no spoof on hot drinks?
Hot drinks really get you going. Warms you up when you feel you're slowing.
But we do have a jester in a fast food joint closing out.
This clown don't appreciate it when his workers betray him. Oh, go ahead, work at Wendy's.
These are actual training videos for Wendy's, by the way. Anyway, Gangle is in charge, and she has a new mask that is supposedly giving her a much more positive outlook and personality, but in reality, it's just covering up her usual sadness. And that's actually pretty typical of the service industry. This isn't a groundbreaking observation that I'm making here, but when you're working in an industry like the fast food biz, you're gonna have to put on a happy face just so you don't get fired, and even more so when you're in a position of authority since you're supposed to lead by example. I say supposed to because most of the time managers tend to be jerks. And this isn't anything new either, since I'm willing to bet a cheeseburger that at least some of you have the displeasure of working in a fast food joint like this one point or another. It's practically a rite of passage to adulthood in America that almost everyone has worked a job like this. Lord knows I've had a few jobs that I grew to hate that are in this vein. Even if you're good at the job, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then the days are gonna feel so long, and at the same time, the hours will fly by, and then the days, then the years. And what's worse is that a job like this will ultimately draw you away from what you really want to do with your life. There's a particular line that caught my attention in the episode.
I want to be a comic artist and eventually launch my own manga-inspired webcomic. It's cool to have dreams, but you also need to remember that they're completely unrealistic, and you need to stop trying.
I literally felt that because, honestly speaking, that was kind of my experience when I was at my last job before I jumped ship and was lucky enough to at least try my hand at making content for you guys to enjoy. I say this because when we look at an image like this, it's easy to see that this is something that Gangle herself had to deal with. After all, with a job like this, it can easily cause issues with you, even when you're not on the actual clock. The long hours, the social battery being drained by customers who make ludicrous demands, or just waste your damn time.
Are you ready to order?
No thanks. I got this bowl of cereal.
That's enough to really burn you out when you're done with your shift, to the point where you don't even want to think about picking up a pencil or draw tablet to doodle. It feels like the world is weighing down on your shoulders even when you're not at the place where you're chained to. And the sad part is, you have to do this. You need to have a stable amount of income coming in so you can provide for yourself and family if you have it. You need to be able to pay for food. You need to have the lights on. And you need to waste your time at a place that is ultimately crushing your soul. And when you're even given a little bit of free time, just being let off work early, it can feel like you were just released from prison. Again, with this line,
But you also need need to remember that they're completely unrealistic, and you need to stop trying.
It reminds me that a lot of people are told by their parents that while dreams are good to have, sometimes they aren't that lucrative and they need an actual job to support themselves and their dreams. Even more so if the dream can actually be good monetarily. But in today's world, a world that is fraught with a lot more challenges, steeper demands, and a cost of living becomes a bit of a nightmare, it's not that simple. Not to get too deep into the depressive nature that is our actual life, but from my own experience, this episode spoke to me. Even if you have a senior position or seniority at a job, you're still just another cog in the machine, something that I'm all too aware of. And as such, when fellow employees slack off, are disrespectful, or are doing things that don't actually help with the job, like stalking a customer.
Can I help you, miss?
I just wanted to say hi.
Call the police.
That stuff can build up more and more stress within you, to the point where you just want to break down, where you just want to quit, where you just want to cry. But you can't. You need to put on that fake face and continue what you're doing, because while you may not want to do this, you need to in order to continue living this existence. So the mask goes back on. I don't normally like talking about my past on this channel or my personal life, but I think it's important for me to explain why this episode really spoke to me on a deeper level. I've worked a lot of different jobs in my teen years to now. A pizza place, as a janitor, a busboy, a grocer, and one of the most prevalent and recent, a mailing transportation service worker. And I left all of them, especially that last one, which is arguably the position that I held the longest for a few years. It was soul-crushing. The conditions were terrible since we had to be exposed to the weather for hours on end, so I'd either be freezing my ass off in winter or I'd be burnt to a crisp. And because of that, I even collapsed a few times due to heat exhaustion. But I had to have this job because, well, it paid decently. I was going to college during this time and provide compensation for tuition, and it also provided health benefits that I needed. And I hated it. I hated that sometimes I had to get up around midnight to pick up a shift for the morning crew, especially those that were slacking off. I hated that a few of the managers had their heads up their asses that thought that my heat exhaustion wasn't real despite my doctor giving them a warning. And I hated that I got assaulted by 2 employees. Yeah. That actually happened. I kept telling myself I needed this job, that as an adult I needed to endure this because that's what adults do, and maybe after all my loyalty I'd actually get a chance to become a manager. Multiple times that chance came, but I was never actually given a chance. Even when I wanted to learn how to operate the trucks to bolster my usefulness, because of one manager's issues, every time they would train me they would skimp out on the last crucial bit that I would need and would disappear for a month. And then I'd have to do the process all over again. I'd have to come in early to learn how to train, and unfortunately, due to the restrictions of it, I would have to take the test and have to take the training all over again. And this happened 3 different times. Then a couple years ago, when my channel finally managed to get some traction and I hit over 100k subs, I said screw it. And thanks to you guys, even if you're not subbed to me and you're watching this, I now don't have to look at that job ever again. At least I hope so. I'm not even going over some of the worst bits that this job had. Yeah, hard to believe that it could get worse than that, right? So when I saw Gangle throw away that mask of hers, running into the starry night, dancing with joy, I felt a twinge of happiness in my heart seeing that. Of course, in the context of a workday, she would get a nasty wake-up call. Hey, I found a way to make it work! But this is the tragedy of mundanity, and I'm not gonna lie, it's something that I and many others have to deal with in our time on Earth. I'm lucky that I'm one of the few that have gone out of that, and I will be forever thankful to you guys for your support. Hell, we're about to hit 200k subscribers on this channel, and not to come off as bragging or begging, I would appreciate if you guys did subscribe, and if you want to feel so bold, please consider supporting me on Patreon or Ko-Fi, but don't feel obligated. Back on topic, I think part of the reason why I enjoyed this episode is despite all the goofiness, despite all the weird mindfuckery, the real horror of this episode was that it had a deep level of truth buried within it. And I think this is what really made Gangle, a character who was mostly in the background for most of the other episodes and a punching bag, became endearing to me. I think that's why I have quite a bit of respect to the series, and that is actually taking some time to give deep dives into characters that all the while being entertaining and somewhat sadistic.
Looks like I've taken Ragatha and dropped her in the deep fryer.
It still manages to hit some really deep notes. So what are your guys' thoughts on the episode? I know that I get a bit heavier with my own past in this video, but I like to think it's important to explain how this episode of the amazing digital circus really hit me on a different level. Still, thanks for watching. I'm MangaKamen, and remember my friends, don't let your dreams falter, and remember to drink hot coffee.
Hot drinks. get you